All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we've got a really cool real-world puzzle for you, straight from the world of international trade. Okay, so picture this. You have 20 tons. Yeah, 20 tons of coffee. It's sitting way up in the mountains of Colombia, and you have to get it over 5,000 miles to a port in Germany. How on earth do you even start? This isn't just a thought experiment. This is the kind of stuff logistics pros solve every single day. So let's break it down. So let's get specific. Here's our case file. The product? 20 tons of packed coffee. The origin? A place called Armenia in the Quindío region of Colombia. Now this is important. It's a landlocked mountain region. And the destination? Hamburg, Germany. We're talking about taking something from high up in the Andes and getting it all the way to a major European seaport. It's a heck of a journey. Okay, so a coffee's long journey. Where do we even begin? Well, the first step, no matter what you're shipping, is always the same. You have to know your product inside and out. And this is a great point from Ricardo Dramillo, the instructor who posed this problem. He says you have to analyze the type of cargo, the value, the volume, the weight. You can't just toss it on a truck and hope for the best. For example, he points out something like fresh flowers. Well, you can't just send those by sea. They'd never make it. Coffee's more durable, sure, but you still have to understand exactly what you're dealing with. That analysis is absolutely step one. All right, to figure this out, we need to open up our logistics toolkit. And inside, there are two fundamental concepts you absolutely have to grasp. They sound similar, but they're different. Means of transport and modes of transport. And this distinction is so important. The means of transport, that's the what. It's the physical truck, the ship, the plane. But the mode of transport, that's the how. It's the strategy. Are you using just one method for the whole trip, which would be unimodal? Or are you combining them like a relay race? For our coffee, which starts on a mountain and needs to cross an entire ocean, well, there's no other way. It's got to be a relay race. And that relay race has a name, intermodal transport. This is a game changer. The idea is that you use different means, like a truck and a ship, but you don't actually handle the cargo itself. The coffee gets packed into one big container right there in Armenia. And that container, that single box, is what travels. It gets loaded from a truck chassis onto a ship, and ideally, nobody opens it again until it's in Hamburg. It's super efficient. Okay, so we've got our strategy. Intermodal transport. Now we can actually start to map out the physical path. How's this coffee going to get from A to B? Right, so no matter which way we slice it, the journey has to have two main parts. First, there's the land route. You've got to get that coffee out of the mountains and down to a major transport hub. A truck is really the only way to do that. And then, from that hub, you have the big international leg where it's either going to go by ship or by plane. So that brings us to our two main options. Option one is the sea route. We truck the coffee from Armenia up to the port of Cartagena and then put it on a ship to Hamburg. Option two is the air route. We truck it over to the big international airport in Bogota and fly it to Hamburg. See? Truck to ship or truck to plane? That is the fundamental choice we have to make. So how do we choose? Truck to ship or truck to plane? Well, in logistics, a huge piece of the puzzle, maybe the biggest, is time. So let's look at the clock and see how these two options stack up. First up, that initial truck journey. Getting from the mountains in Armenia to the port of Cartagena, you're looking at about 2 to 3 days, give or take. Then you've got the long haul, the sea voyage from Cartagena all the way to Hamburg. That's a big one, 18 to 25 days at sea. But what about by air? Well, that's a whole different story. The flight from Bogota to Hamburg, just 1 to 2 days. I mean, it's a massive difference. Okay, so let's put it all together in this time matrix. Look at this. The sea route, you add the truck and the ship time, you get a total of 20 to 28 days. The air route, truck to Bogota, is less than a day, plus the flight, you're talking maybe 3 to 4 days total. Wow. When you just look at speed, I mean, it's not even a contest. Air wins by a landslide. So, looking at this, the decision's obvious, right? Go with the air route. Get it there in 4 days. But not so fast. In the real world, there's always another factor. The final calculation brings us to a classic trade-off. And here it is, the core dilemma: speed versus cost. The sea route is slow, yes, but it's way more economical. For something heavy and bulky, remember 20 tons of coffee. Shipping by sea is designed for that. Air freight, on the other hand, is incredibly fast, but it is also incredibly expensive. It's usually saved for things that are really high value, lightweight, or have to get there like yesterday. Which brings us right back to what Ricardo Jaramillo said at the beginning. You have to evaluate each operation individually. There's no single right answer here. It all comes down to the specific situation. Does the buyer in Germany need this coffee urgently, and they're willing to pay a fortune for shipping? Or is this a standard stock order, where keeping the cost down is the most important thing to make any profit? That's the real question. So the next time you pour yourself a cup of coffee, just think about it for a second. Think about the incredible, invisible web of trucks, ships, contracts, and calculations that had to happen just to get those beans to you. It's a massive, complex puzzle that gets solved every single day, connecting a farmer on a mountain in Colombia to your cup. All thanks to the fascinating world of logistics.